Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of LFC Transfer Room Saturday Night Club. It is Saturday night. Thank you all for joining us. We have got an actual packed show tonight, considering it's the off-season. Transfer rumours, contract renewals are all starting to heat up. I'm in England top tonight because Trent's obviously the number 8. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. I'm joined tonight by Willem. How are you doing? You okay? Is it the first time you've been on the Saturday night stream?
Yeah, it's the first time on Saturday night. I've seen better days, but I'm okay for the rest. Yeah, so it'll be fun.
Will had too many beers last night. Was it in celebration of anything?
No, I was just to end off the week. It was a long week of work, and I was up for some beers.
Yeah, I don't blame you, mate, as well. Friday night beers are much better than Saturday night beers, I reckon. You got 2 days to recover there. When you get to my age, you need that 2 days as well. 2-day recovery all the time.
I should be fine for tomorrow, but it wouldn't be a wise move to go on it again tomorrow.
No, maybe not. No, you got a day's rest. Patricio, I know that this is your very, very first Saturday night stream, and I think this is you've been on. Was you on last night as well?
I was indeed, yeah.
How did you find it? All right? Were they kind to you?
Yeah, they're all kind. Yeah, it was all good. I liked the setup was nice.
Oh, good. Okay, well, we'll try better to be a little bit more mean this time. Break you in gently, and then we'll put you under the spot. As you can see, there's as you can see, there's lots and lots of things to discuss, and I think we'd better start with Trent, really, because we've got over 800 people with us in the first couple of minutes, so thank you all for joining. And like I said earlier, we're in the England top. Trent's been given the number 8 top, which perhaps indicates that he will be starting alongside Declan Rice, hopefully in that midfield. Or after Kyle Walker's performance, perhaps even starting in the right back position. But it does look as though we have 3 massive superstars in Trent, Mo, and Virgil van Dijk signing an extension to their contract. I mean, how big is this, Willem?
It's massive, and I mean, it was something the club had to do anyways, because if there's one thing we haven't done really well in the last couple of years is letting too many players run down their contracts and kind of ending up letting them go on a free, and these are the 3 players you don't want to let go on a free at all, or even let go. So, yeah, I'm really chuffed with it, especially, obviously, we've been getting some noise about Trent going to Madrid as well and stuff and everything, so that obviously calms the situation a lot more. Getting the news of today that the contract seems to be getting more sorted out this week.
Yeah, and Patricia, I don't know about you. I was never actually, I don't think worried that Trent would stay. I think he's definitely due another contract. He's ushering in a new era under Slot. He's obviously, captain material in the future as well. So I think I was never personally worried. I think with Trent Alexander-Arnold, it was more so perhaps with the other 2 who we'll get on in a moment. But, Trent Alexander-Arnold is surely a future captain of Liverpool Football Club. And Patricio, just how important is he in this new Arne Slot era, do you think? And does he perhaps play in that midfield, that double pivot that Slot prefers, that 4-2-3-1? Or do you think he continues his performances at right back?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted Trent in the midfield. I think he's always been a sort of number 8. He always likes to progress with the ball further up the pitch, find the players on like the wings and stuff. So yeah, I'm actually quite excited. I think I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to stay. Been a Liverpool boy through and through. So I think he's a vice captain now, isn't he? So I think captain is there for him. And yeah, I think he will stay with us, especially till, well, hopefully that's 2029. We'll see what he's like. But I think, I can't see him going to Real Madrid or anything like that. I think he's staying with us now.
Yeah, I think so too. Paul's asking what's happened to the quiz night on Saturday night, so I will be bringing it back. We're just going to usher in a few new faces, and the quiz night is certainly going to make an appearance. So yes, thank you for that, Paul. Obviously, I mean, this is looking at contract negotiations are set to start next week, which makes things difficult considering Trent's obviously going to be playing over in Germany. Obviously, his agent can still be doing the business behind the scenes anyway. So, Willem, where do you see his position moving forwards? Do you see him in that right back role? Do you think Bradley plays a more prominent role with Trent stepping into midfield?
I do. I'm kind of in the same boat. Well, I've been hoping to see Trent in midfield for a while because I normally when I look at Trent and the way when he plays right back, I feel like what sometimes can be his deficiencies there come down more to motivation instead of necessarily like not having the quality. I feel that he wants to be further up the pitch. He wants to kind of be more able to progress those balls up and be further up to be more involved in the attack. And I think, for me at least, in the past few years, you have seen sometimes where he does play at the right back and the tracking back or actually going in for the tackle sometimes. He just doesn't really necessarily put in the effort that you have seen him put up when he plays in the big games. And not meaning that as if it's like a massive issue or anything, but it's just these little details that have been seen with him. And I do think in midfield he would also be more motivated to also do that defensive work that is required in midfield as well.
So this news is coming from Fabrizio Romano and Caught Offside, so two pretty reputable resources. And again, it's on the LFC at LFC Transfer Room on Twitter, or X as it's now known. So again, please do give us a like, a subscribe, and a follow on all of the social medias. And again, that's bringing the best news for you. Trent's midfield would probably require a very defensive player beside him. I don't doubt that, if I'm honest. And I think that's the beauty of a double pivot, Patricio. It's one of those that, yes, Trent probably does need a defensive midfielder beside him, someone who is far more defensive, and Trent plays almost that quarterback role then. Is there anyone at Liverpool who can do that? Or do you think actually Trent just needs to bulk up in his defensive attributes?
To be honest, I don't think Trent is suited to that sixth role. I think defensively, he's not really there. He doesn't want to do the defensive tackles. He kind of wants to progress up forward. So I think he's going to need that bigger person that next to him, like a Bajcetic, like someone like a Fabinho, someone that is willing to go back, like an Endo. But I know Endo will probably only have a couple more seasons with us. We need someone that's going to be a regular starter in the team, like an Ederson that we were looking into, or maybe so someone like them that can, if Trent can't get the first ball, they can cover at the back and make sure like a five at the back and a slot. So yeah, we'll see. I hope Trent does one the double pivot, but I don't think he'll be a standalone six.
Romano and Caught Offside also mention, obviously, the Egyptian king Mohamed Salah, Willem, and moving away slightly from Trent, as exciting as he is. I really hope that he does start the Euros, because I think he's England's most creative player from an English point of view anyway. It's a bit of a turning point, I think, for Mo in terms of what this contract will bring, because obviously his last contract extension, he got a big deal. He was paid pretty handsomely. Do you think that, again, whilst we don't necessarily get into the wage detail, do you think he's still up for a big deal? Do you think he gets his wage increased? Do you think it still stays the same? Do you think he's not going to take a pay cut, in my opinion? But is that something that you would be thinking of?
I wouldn't be surprised if all three deals would kind of wage-wise end up around the 300k mark. I think it will probably, with Salah's extension, it will get lowered a little bit, but not that significantly. Maybe even 325 instead of 350, but I think it would be more likely that they give him 300 and the extension would probably only be until 2026 or 2027. And I mean, it's also just the best move we can do. I mean, because we know that Saudi interest is there the entire time, and the daftest thing would be to not agree a new deal with him right now and let him walk for it on a free, when at the same time we're hearing rumors that a Casemiro apparently might be going for 90 to 100 million. So imagine what they would still pay for Mo, even if he had only supposedly a year left on his deal. So and again, it's a rumor. I don't obviously know if Saudi are actually offering that amount of money, but it's just more, it's smart business in that sense. Like, we have to also think of he's not going to be here forever, so we do have to be smart about when eventually we do move him on and how.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the main thing is as well, there isn't anyone, I don't think, in world football who can come in if Salah did go this season and reproduce the numbers that he has done. And I don't think there's anyone within Liverpool. I know that Doak's round about there. Elliott, we've seen out on the right as well. We are, saying that we need a right winger. I don't think there is anyone there. So having Salah there for a couple more years, just to extend that deal out and keep him under the contract, Patricio, might be the way forwards. Salah sometimes does do this, sometimes does have a bit of a drop off post AFCON. What are you expecting from Mo this season? Are you expecting him to be the GOAT again? What is it that you're going to be looking at and looking forward to from seeing Mo under Slot in the new era when the season starts again?
Don't get me wrong, I want Mo to perform and I want him to do well. I've seen in the last couple of seasons he has dropped off a bit, and it's bound to happen with age. Maybe with his new haircut, he might provide something else. Outside the new era, he's happy to bring something with the slot with Slot, but I don't know. I feel like his numbers last season, although they were good, they're just not at his best. And I know what you mean with AFCON and stuff, but I think I need to see a bit more output from Mo. I know that I've liked Harvey Elliott out on the wing. I think he's done quite well for us. I know that Szoboszlai can play that right wing role as well, especially more of a right attacking mid. So I don't think that Salah should stay. I think although Willem wants him to stay a couple more seasons, I think that it's probably best to sell him on. I know it's quite controversial, but
can I just come back on it though? I only meant about the extension of the contract, more in a business sense, because I think it's the first year going in with Slot. Maybe if we don't perform that well, he might be looking as well to go in a different manner, and depending on how he performs as well, it obviously does change. But more in a tactical sense, I meant it.
Oh, yeah, okay,
So I was just going to say, I think with Mo, it just makes business sense to extend that contract as long as we're not paying him an extra $100,000 a week, over the course of the next couple of years, just to keep him under contract and not going to Saudi or wherever it might be on a free next season. I suppose it makes a bit of business sense. Now, if someone's going to offer this season 150 million, I'd probably say a lot of Liverpool fans are snapping their hands off, right, Patricio, for 150 million?
Yeah, for that price. Yeah, I know that they were offering that last season, and I know this season sort of the numbers were about 100 million, and especially if they can get Casemiro for 80, 90, then we need to be looking a lot higher than 100. If that's the numbers being thrown out there, I think we can definitely get more for Salah, and it'll be silly to let him go on a free. So it's either a contract extension and then get money for him, or money for him now. So I'd say.
And then moving on to our captain, fantastic Virgil van Dijk, who has perhaps been one of my, if not the most favourite signing under the Klopp era, the post-Klopp era, as we are in now. Again, what a big performance he's going to have to put in over the course of this next season. He was a colossal again last season. I think he was just absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, his Dutch counterpart now comes in. Again, it makes complete sense for him to be signing a contract extension. I mean, Willem, how important is he to this Liverpool team?
He's extremely important. I mean, just looking at last season alone, he was the only centre-back that we had constantly playing into every centre-back pair and going in there. And he was for 2/3 of the season, he was that stability factor at the back. Obviously, towards the end, we kind of dropped off there and conceded a bit too much. But yeah, no, it's vital to get into an extension. And honestly, I know I think it's going to be that he's turning 33 now, or he's going to be it soon at least, but I still think he's going to be a centre-back who's like a Thiago Silva, who can, at 37, 38, will still be able to play at a really high level. And then, obviously, I mean, again, Father Time doesn't wait for anyone. But I do think his style of play and the way he plays the game has a longer longevity than something, for example, Salah will be able to offer us in the next 3 years.
I think the comfortability with Van Dijk also is that, yes, he does still look like he can go for a while. But we also have centre-backs, in abundance, I would say. We've got Quansah coming through. Gomez can play there. We've got We've got Konate when he's fit and he's not in the injury bay. But we have actually, for me, like centre-back, although we need one, and we are addressing that, hopefully, there are quite a lot of good centre-backs about. I generally think when we talk about, is there anyone that could do what Mo Salah does and produce those numbers? No, there's not. And I think that's the worry. I'm far more relaxed with the centre-back position than I am with the right forward position almost. And I think it's just because there's no one out there that could do what Mo does. Now, there's not many out there who could do what Van Dijk does either. if I'm honest. But we have got a Jarrell Quansah who looks like he could be very well the next Van Dijk. Patricio, talking about Virgil then, obviously he's going into the Euros. He's, gonna be fronting that back line with the Netherlands. What is it about Virgil, do you think, that really defines how great a player he is?
I think he just shows good leadership. He's not willing to back down. He'll motivate the team, make sure that if we are a goal down in the first half, second half we come out stronger. We were comeback kings for the most of last season. So I think Virgil's definitely pivotal in like how our team work. I don't think we would have struggled a lot if we didn't have Virgil. I think he's definitely a rock at the back, and like you said, I'm hoping Quansah can take that mantle sort of when Virg goes. But like William said, I'm hoping we can get a good like 5 more years out of him, definitely. So he can definitely play at that good top level, and strong player.
Hopefully all 3 deals do get renewed, and like I say, if you haven't given a like and subscribe to the channel or a follow on Twitter, Facebook, I think there's a TikTok account as well. I'm not cool enough to have TikTok, so I don't have that account. But yeah, please do give us a follow, because all of the latest news is a news aggregator site. It all gets put out there, and that was from Fabrizio Romano, the transfer guru, and Caught Offside. Now, moving on to our central defensive midfield, it does feel like a very long time since prime Fabinho, really, for Liverpool. And since that time, we've had a really high quality number 6. However, there is somebody in the reckoning, Atalanta's Ederson, who obviously after this season, we won't go into the results, we will be looking at, we should be quite familiar with Atalanta. They've done very, very, very well. Willem, have you seen much of Ederson this season? And if so, what insight have you got on him?
I think I have seen about 7 games, which is literally and not even fully seen him, to be fair. So I think I've only fully seen him play in both semi-finals and the final of the Europa League. And from what I've watched back, but like more of like kind of extensive highlights and stuff, because I thought they were interesting games, was the Atalanta Sporting game before obviously they played us. And in those 7 games, I really liked what I saw. The only problem is that it's 7 games. I can't really truly make a proper judgment off of it. I do, from what I've seen, he is one of the targets that I would put higher up the list, because personally there are just a lot of great defensive midfielders out there. I do think there are options, but also like obviously the world class ones like a Rodri, like a Tchouaméni, like a Camavinga, they're just not available right now. So you kind of also have to go for the next best thing that is around. And I think he does kind of fit a profile that we are missing, because he is also 6'1". He's known to really interrupt the play and break up the play. And we haven't really properly, like, Endo has been a really good signing, but I think we've got maybe 2 seasons left of Endo. And I think it would be better to have him as a rotational option to also not have too much pressure put on Bajcetic when he does come through, and kind of just slowly be able to integrate him as well over the years. So it would be a good signing. There are also other options out there, but for the price that's going around, I would be quite happy with him.
Yeah, and Atalanta have made it clear that they'll only sell defensive midfielder Ederson, who is 24, for a fee of at least £42 million. That's not euros, that is in pounds. And there's no shortage of suitors. And as Willem said, there is a massive gap in the defensive midfielder market. So essentially, I think Atalanta could probably say, actually, we'll put another 10 million on because they're so high in demand. However, good news, Pierce, as always, James Pierce has said that Ederson is not on the top priority list for LFC's midfield. And again, take as you will. Patricio, again, your knowledge on Ederson, have you been impressed with him? Have you seen much of him this season? And I suppose it does take time for players to break through, but have you seen him even before this season? Because it feels like at 24, this is a breakout season now for him. He's doing very, very well combatively. He seems quite versatile in terms of dynamism. What is it, if you have seen much of him, what is it that's impressed you, and should Liverpool go for him?
So I haven't seen much about him, only what he's done in the Champions League, like the sort of 7 games that William said. So from what I've seen, he seemed to control the midfield, especially in that Leverkusen game. He was there. He was dominant. I don't know if that's what we need at the moment. Like you said, we could probably get another good season or two out of Endo. He is that player, especially when Bajcetic coming through. So I don't know if Ederson is the top priority at the moment. I think sort of centre back, left-footed centre back, right wing. That's my main priorities at the moment. What I think. So Ederson should be there, and once we do, because we had that midfield upgrade, didn't we? A revamp. So yeah, I don't think we need a sixth right now. But I can see why Liverpool are looking at him, especially for £42 million.
I could see also, there's not a massive need, as silly as it sounds, if we are going to play a 4-2-3-1, because, you have two players playing in that defensive position, that double pivot of a six. So you basically, double up your money, rather than just having that one out and out six, like you saw the Rodri and the prime Fabinho's and Casemiro when he was on his day as well, when he played a three in midfield and you had one sit in the holding midfield. So again, yeah, I would say Liverpool's priorities, although last season we absolutely cried out for a defensive midfielder, if we're changing in that formation and we're playing two there that are going to sit, then obviously I think that's perhaps papering over the cracks for a little while until a really good DM, hopefully Badge, comes through and fills that void there. Again, it's lots of rumours. It does get to silly season, if I'm honest. I always think at the start of the transfer, as soon as it opens that window, I'm going to write down from every source who Liverpool are interested in, what every player. I think you'd probably come out with pages and reams, if I'm honest, of the players who are interested. So again, that's our job. We have to explore it. Somebody else who is actually supposedly Liverpool are interested in is the winger Yankuba Minteh, who was on loan from Newcastle at Feyenoord under the current manager Arne Slot, and Newcastle are considering bids of £40 million because they have to sell players this summer to comply with PSR rules and regulations. Again, might not be somebody who people know about. He has just scored, I believe, today. I think he was playing on the left, but he's predominantly a right winger. And Willem and Patricia, I'm putting you on the spot here because I would say that he's a bit of an unknown quantity. Unless you obviously watched Feyenoord last season, he's obviously not featured too much for Newcastle. So, Willem, anything at all, and nobody, these 3,796 people will not destroy you, I'm sure, if you don't know.
I can tell it's your first stream with me, Richie, because in case you didn't know, I was born in the Netherlands, mate, and part of my family are Feyenoord season tickets holders. So, actually, I have watched quite a bit of Feyenoord. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's still really raw, I would say, from like a couple of where his decision making still is quite dubious at times. But he is a very pacey and direct player. And there is talent there, but I'm not sure if the step to us, even as an understudy, at this point in his career, is probably the best move. But that's more for him. I think he needs another season, to develop more as a player, just purely from what I've seen from him, to then really be able to kind of make a decision on that. The only thing is Newcastle will have to move him on now. So that obviously does kind of put up a bit of a hurdle. So for a decent price, it could be a good gamble, but I don't think he would be one of my priority signings.
How does he fare then next to Ben Doak? Because they are of a similar age and a very similar profile. And if we're saying that Doak isn't ready, is Minteh going to be ready? You'd assume not. So how do they fare against each other?
I would say so that at the same time is also a bit of a contradiction, I'd almost say. But I would say Minteh would be a bit more ready than Ben Doak, but it isn't by a lot. And I would more say that purely due to the fact that Doak's been injured so much lately, which has really hampered him. I have liked a lot from what I've seen from Doak. I think sometimes his decision on the final pass or the final shot is still a bit iffy. But, I mean, the kid's 18, so it's quite normal that still happens. But yeah, it would also more in that sense, it wouldn't really make too much sense if you're going to get in a Minteh whilst having Ben Doak. I think you'd be better off looking more of a prospect who is at an age of 23, 24, ready to kind of get close to their prime already, while still keeping Ben Doak around to kind of develop him over time.
Yeah, and it's almost like even if we do bring them in, it then almost stints and halts Doak's progression in the first team too, because they're going to be sharing out those minutes between them rather than just be Doak's, for instance. Patricio, again, I think Willem was definitely the best person to ask there about Minteh. Is there anyone else in that right wing position who you think could come in and do a job? If it's not going to be Minteh, if it's not going to be Doak, if it's not going to be Elliott, is there anyone even at Liverpool? I was really impressed actually with Luis Diaz when he played on that right-hand side. If I'm completely honest, I thought that Diaz played very well on the right, and we've got too many left wingers as it is. But what are your thoughts really on that right-hand side, Patricio?
Yeah, I think giving Luis Diaz on the right, putting Nunes on the left, and maybe Gakpo through the middle, that could work quite well. Although I know under Slot that's going to change. But if not, then I'm thinking on the right hand side, can maybe someone like an Elise, although he is quite injury prone. Same with Chiesa on the other side, he's 26. I don't think Minteh's the correct person, only being 19, competing with Ben Doak. So I'm thinking someone along like Bakayoko, someone strong, physical, who's pacey, quite technical, maybe like a Kudus as well. I know that's a high asking price, and maybe someone that Liverpool aren't going to go for and spend a lot of money on. So, and I'm assuming that would only be if Salah was to move on. So, yeah, someone of that sort of 23, 24, like you said, that can come straight in, but not hinder Doak's, not hinder Doak getting on. And then hopefully when then Doak bursts through, that person will then, on the latter stages of the career, reaching their 30s. So, yeah, someone like I'm saying, like a Bakayoko then would be perfect.
I was on mute. Happens sometimes, you forget that you put yourself on mute. I blame the squeaky chair. Can you hear it? Squeaks. So I have to put myself on mute.
It's only a little bit. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
So hence why I put myself on mute. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Bakayoko, I think someone said it in the comments. I brought it up earlier as well. He seems a bit more established. I think Kudos has had a great year. And again, his asking price is definitely going to be high. And there are other areas I think that we need to strengthen before we start looking at that forward line, because we have got players who can play across there. So news today is that Tom Werner would love for the Premier League to go abroad. Now, that sounds like a great idea in principle. However, what you do is you take away, a lot of, or potentially a lot of games from the fans who are now paying for increased ticket prices. So FIFA are set to accept a new law that will allow leagues to play at least one match in their league campaign abroad, which means Liverpool could go to America, they could go to Asia, they could go to Australia, they could come to Holland, go to the Netherlands, Willem, couldn't they? Come and see you. Again, what are your thoughts on this? Is, I think, tribal and geographical bias is always going to come into this. I think that the English fans are always going to, and those based around Liverpool are always going to think this is a terrible idea. And then I also think that those in America are going to think it's the best idea in the world. Willem, what are your thoughts?
I absolutely hate it. So I'm completely against it, but more purely from the fact it always gets put out as this whole narrative, it's to expand the fandom of the game and to make it more popular going around. Bullshit. It's for money. We all know it is. It's just getting more sponsorship deals in. It's just getting more money coming into it. And it's aside from football, which has unfortunately been rotten for so long now already, which is just, it's become so commercial and so business oriented, which is sometimes like when these kind of ideas get suggested, or the same where this Club World Cup gets put up now for next season as well, which is going to be a tournament in the summer they're holding in between a Euros and a World Cup, which is just absolutely unnecessary. It's unfortunate that football tends to go this way. I hope it really doesn't happen, because for me personally as well, the magic is going to the local area where the game is played and being there with the locals and being there with the fans who go there every week, because that is the best as well, just in general, the best experience you can get. Because even in, I know in America now for a long time, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant with this, but it's because it really annoys me. But even in America, so in America now, the NFL is playing abroad in London, and like the NBA is going to Mexico and to London as well. And me personally, I'm also quite a big basketball fan. And for me, the best experience for me was going to a Knicks game where it was the Knicks against the Mavericks. And I went to the Mavericks because Luka Doncic and like the European guys were on there. And I was like, yeah, I really like those guys. So I want to be there. And for me, the best thing there was being there with the local Knicks fans, giving the Knicks fans a bit of stick, but in like a friendly way. And then just enjoying the game and really enjoying the experience there. And like, also just, it's the passion for the game that you go to. I don't want it to become some touristic experience for people who are just going there on a day trip. Like, I want actual fans to be in there, and you can't always guarantee that going abroad.
Major League Baseball today has actually confirmed that they'll be coming to England as well, and I'm sure that's great. And I've not been to an NFL game over here, but my friends have, and they've really enjoyed it. But I always do feel like, okay, well, how do their fans feel about that? Because there's so many with Liverpool. We are talking about Liverpool, and I know that, and Liverpool might be a microcosm for the rest of the Premier League. But if I had one chance to go to a game, and that was taken away from me because it's over in America, I probably wouldn't be renewing a membership. So whilst it might be a great money spinner, actually, if you think about the context in general, it's really not, because you are, for lack of a better phrase, shitting on your own doorstep and annoying, the fans who have been loyal for me. I know I look 21, but 36 years, so those experiences that have been taken away. Patricio, what are your thoughts on this? Is it a money spinner? Is there a reason behind it, do you think? Have FSG, I'm not going to get into an FSG debate tonight, but have they again perhaps made a very, very poor decision by not thinking about the whole context of the Premier League, of football, of England, of Liverpool, of Europeans, Champions League, everything?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think they're looking to line their own pockets in a way. They're just thinking, what's a way that we can exploit Liverpool, get them abroad, and in there they're just going to promote it as seen that fans can go to the games. But like you said, their own fans in their stadium won't be able to go to it. And people go for the experience as well. They won't be able to get the Anfield experience abroad. So I think that's taken away from that as well. And like William said, you wouldn't want to pay loads of money to go to America to watch Liverpool when you can also go to see them in the UK, go to see them at Anfield where the experience is. So yeah, I do think it's a really bad idea. They're just looking to line their own pockets.
What can I add one more thing to it as well?
Oh, please do, please, yeah.
Like the other thing, obviously, it's so. What I don't like personally from this move as well is the consideration of how long people also have to wait to actually be able to get a ticket, or even how long the season ticket line is. And then you're going to even take a game out of there to go to America or to go to Asia or to go everywhere to make it even less available for the local people around. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's bullshit. Well, it does make sense for them because it's money and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think, without going to an FSG debate, because they have done lots and lots of good for Liverpool Football Club, sometimes on their spur of the moment decisions or their press conferences. Sometimes, again, you can see a little bit of what their inner thoughts are too. Again, I don't think it's a great idea. I'd love, that's the reason why we have pre-season tours, isn't it? And we talk so much about player welfare. Actually, we don't talk enough about it. Player welfare. How I wouldn't see how that would work, that you're going to go and fly to whichever country over in America or Canada it might be, or Saudi Arabia, I should think will get their hands in the pocket soon. What toll that takes on the players. Surely there'd have to be a week's break after it as well, because you have to take player welfare into consideration. We've seen so many more injuries because we're playing so many more games. The Champions League games are increasing as well. So we have to take this into account. The lads don't seem, and you have to be careful, don't you? Because some of these players are getting paid more than anyone earns in a lifetime. But at the same time, they are still humans and they do have to look after their body. And it does feel like at the minute, they're almost like cattle when they're being auctioned off at the top price. So I think when we look at player welfare, maybe, that's something that we should perhaps consider. There are over 4,000 of you, nearly reaching 5,000 viewers tonight. So thank you so much for joining us on the Saturday Night Club. And as Jay quite rightly says, please smash the likes and subscribers, everybody. Moving away then from, the Premier League going abroad. Actually, this really surprised me, the news today, that Liverpool are looking at James Trafford, who Newcastle recently bid 16 million for, actually. They're tracking Burnley goalkeeper James Trafford, who's 21. Obviously, he moved to Burnley after that stellar performance and after the England Euros under 21s from Manchester City. And it sort of puts the writing on the walls a little bit for Quivine Kelleher, and also perhaps maybe adds a bit of context why Adrian's extension of his contract, which probably took us all a bit by surprise, if I'm honest. It sort of all makes a little bit of sense, Willem, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, it does, but do we really want Adrian as a second goalkeeper or a third option anymore at this point? I think that's also something we, like, apart from the fact that, yes, obviously he's been at the club, he knows the club for a while, there is also a reason why we all very much have feared the idea of Adrian in goal for the last 3 years already as well, because from those performances we've seen after the good game he had in the Super Cup. And I don't personally see the reason for it. I would rather you give Peter Luger a goal instead for the second goalkeeper position if Keller is going to go anyway. But yeah, apart from it, obviously the James Trafford news as well, it did surprise me quite a bit, especially seeing as he basically, I mean, Muric took over the starting position for him at some point in Burnley as well in the second half, throughout the second half of the season, if I'm not incorrect.
He did. Yeah.
So I'm not too sure about this one. The only thing that I did think was, wow, if they get 16 million for him, we could actually ask 30 for Keller, or 35 even at this point, because he has to be almost double the value of Trafford.
Yeah, and Paul's actually just put that in there as well. I think Newcastle had a bid of 16 million rejected. I think Burnley actually bought him for 20 million. And again, you know, if Burnley are paying that, I know he does come with the English tax. Okay, you know, he's a homegrown. Again, Kelleher would be as well, but again, for me, Kelleher is surely a 25 million goalkeeper. And there's not. I was having this conversation earlier. There's not actually that many goalkeepers in the Premier League. Maybe, well, I don't know, 7 or 8 who actually has performed better than Kelleher did. You know, he played as many games as Alisson this year, and I was blown away. I know that he had a dip in 1 or 2 games, but every Liverpool player did in those games as well. And I've always been impressed with Kelleher. I would love for him to stay. And it's just so unfortunate that he's probably the best number 2 in the Premier League who does deserve a number 1 spot, Patricio. James Trafford, for me, doesn't come close to Kelleher. If I'm honest, I think Kelleher is a better number 2 than James Trafford. However, I can see why perhaps if we're going to cash in on Kelleher, that James Trafford at 21 years old, he's English, he would fill that spot in the number 2 position, with Adrian staying there as the number 3.
Yeah, so I agree. I think I don't think we should go for Trafford. I know that he comes from City, went to Burnley. I know that he didn't perform as well for Burnley, hence why they went for their other keeper. I know he's still really good, quite young, only 21. And I do feel like I know Kelleher did an amazing job, and he's going to be a number 1 goalkeeper somewhere else. He's going to be doing amazing for them. Sadly, I wish we could keep him, because it just having that confidence where if Alisson was out, we'd have Kelleher there. So I don't really know who could take up that mantle, who could take up that secondary spot. And to be honest, with the Adrian contract extension, I didn't really understand that one either. I know he's there for seniority, and like you said, he knows the club. Maybe provide a bit of confidence for the younger players coming through, but that one confused me a bit. It's like extending Milner when we did, or Henderson when we did, you know. So it's just there for longevity reasons, not there as really a back at the third keeper. So yeah, I think Trafford right now probably shouldn't be worth it.
And I'm not sure whether Adrian's new contract that he's offered, and obviously we've just heard that Liverpool have offered him a new contract. As Jay quite rightly says, you know, he might go back to Spain. That's what he said earlier last month in May. And John also says that as well. You know, it's one of those that if Liverpool have offered a contract, we don't know what that is. It could be actually to be part of the coaching staff too. You know, he could be earmarked perhaps for, you know, in the future, John Ackerbird, and he could be the future goalkeeping coach, perhaps, you know, or any sort of coach in there. We know that Klopp's held him in very high regard, very senior, very influential, very supportive as well. And there we go. Look, Jay's quite rightly just pointed out what I've said. Adrian just received his FIFA coaching badge too. So it might be one of those, you're not going to play, but you're there if we need you. But actually, we'll believe in you as a coach, and we want you to be the future generation of our coaches, whether that's a goalkeeper coach or not. And again, for me, it just caught my eye today. James Trafford, like what? So Kelleher's definitely going, and if he does, I'd love to see where Kelleher goes, because he's got to be first choice somewhere, and he absolutely deserves it. Listen, as we're coming up to the 40-minute mark. And I've not been on stream with either of you two. So I would like to know, Willem, in this transfer window, what is it that you would expect realistically from Liverpool to do? And are there any players that you think, if you were in charge, if you were Michael Edwards, who would you go out and get?
So for me, and I've kind of talked, for me personally, I think the positions that we need to address the most are, for me personally, I do think a DM is essential for us this window, because we didn't properly address it last window. And even though we might have a formation change, we obviously throughout the season as well don't know how that formation change is going to go on. We saw it at some points as well with other coaches where they come in and they've come in with their system and then have ended up needing to adapt to their system due to as well the players that are there and everything that's going around. And then if we would end up going back to more of a similar 4-3-3 position, then a 6 is necessary in that sense. A centre-back obviously goes without saying. I would almost be inclined to say I think you can really solve a problem if you can get a centre-back who plays as a left-back as well, because it's just covering 2 positions at once. It also kind of gives us the flexibility to maybe move Tsimikas on, to get a bit of extra funding in there. And I mean, as well, the fact that throughout the season, even when he was fit, Gomez was second choice as left back ahead of him, kind of does show at this point what we should probably end up doing with him. And in the forward line, for me personally, I think we can actually, if we end up extending Mo, I think we can wait for a year, and I would really closely monitor the Kudus situation, because if he has another really good season, and from what he's already done at Ajax before, I think he would probably end up being the best suited man to get a year from now on to kind of really take on the challenge to slowly, not fully replace Mo, but it would be a very good player to really try and replace him with, because obviously Mo Salah's Mo Salah. You can't guarantee those numbers from nearly any right winger in the world right now. But I wouldn't be opposed to actually thinking of getting in a striker this window as well, because I feel that Nunes might be more of an experiment for the wing this next upcoming season, to kind of be more chaotic down there. And because Jota has his injury issues, and he is the most clinical finisher we have right now, I would say, we can't rely on Jota for a whole season. So I personally would like to get in a striker who on the data has a really good conversion rate, because I feel like that's what we've been really missing actually as well in the last half of the season, along with our defensive issues. And that's it pretty much, actually. I don't really have much more to add to it.
So DM, centre-back, left-back, forward.
Centre-back who can play left-back. I think 3 positions can do it.
Yeah. Okay. And again, I don't disagree with any of those. I think they're really, really good points. I think Gomez at left-back, actually, apart from, again, like I say, 1 or 2 games, did really, really well. I think the writing on the wall after that for Tsimikas was perhaps there. Patricio, same question to you. And again, feel free and brave to say any names, as Willem did as well. And everyone else, everyone else in the comments, we will get to your comments as well. So please do say what, those positions, who you would like to come in as well. So please do those, and we will get to them.
Yeah, I think I agree with Willem. The only thing I disagree with is the priority of the positions. I think DM is needed, but isn't as needed as highly as a left-footed centre-back. They can play left-back, someone like a Hanko, like even a good Trudeau, they can play that right-back, centre-back, left-back. It's kind of like a, it's just gone blank in my head. Kind of like a Gomez, someone that is versatile. Maybe even like for when Van Dijk, rests a bit, we have someone there next to Kanate, next to Kwanzaa. So I'm thinking someone like a Hanzo. I know Inaccio's name has been thrown about. I don't know if he is the person that will solve the problems. So I'm thinking definitely centre back. I'm thinking then probably either a winger to replace Mo if he does go. If not, someone that can come in like a Kudus. Maybe we do wait a year. And I know people are saying that DM is pivotal. I think going into that 4-2-3-1, we'll have Trent and Maka there for the 8, and then maybe like Endo and Bajcetic for the 6. And I know we've seen Maka play the 6 as well. So I would probably then maybe go for Ederson. I think that's the third on my priority list is for a DM. And I've seen people say that Hanko can play left back, so I think he might be a good option to go for, especially to replace Simicast and then play that left side set back.
By the way, all of them are priorities for me. I don't really have a particular order for them. I think we need all three at the end of the day.
Yeah, and however which way they come, I don't think you have to go out and buy a DM first. If a left-sided centre back comes along, go and get him. It's one of those that we do need all of them. And I'm pretty much along the same lines really. I would like someone to come in as a right winger. I can't see who that is. I'd like someone to come in as a DM. Again, can't really see who that is if I'm honest. I think the left centre back, there are better left centre backs out there. There's more of a market for the left centre backs, but again, it's who is that going to be? Because you can have Gomez or Robertson as the left back position. I don't think we need to ship Robertson on anytime soon, and Gomez can be there for backup as well. So it is really plug in a few gaps. I would say I don't think we need a massive busy window. I think James Pearce said Liverpool are not expected to have a busy window. Well, for me, Liverpool are expected to sign 4 players in my eyes, and I wouldn't class that as a busy window. I think we'd see more than 4 players going out in terms of outgoing. So I don't think it needs a busy window. I don't think Slot's going to come in and rip up the rule book and say, half of the squad that he doesn't want, because it's still a very, very good squad that Jurgen Klopp has left. Moving on then, winding down, there's over 5,500 of you in here. So thank you very much for joining us on your Saturday night. What are you expecting, I suppose, from the Liverpool players in these Euros, Willem? And the Copa America too. Nunes obviously away, and a few others. Alexis is there too. We heard that Szoboszlai took a bit of a knock earlier. Hopefully that's nothing too serious, because I have him in my fantasy team for the Euros. So I really don't want him missing any. I think it's going to be key for Hungary, who's in quite a nice group. What are we expecting from our Liverpool players? Who do you expect to shine? You don't have to go through each one, but what are you expecting, and who do you think could go under the radar and actually come out the other end really shining?
I actually think Gravenberch is going to have a really good Euros. I think the Matswifer injury has actually kind of helped that he's going to be forced to become more of an option. A lot of people in the Netherlands aren't happy as well with the fact that Wijnaldum is getting a lot of playing time right now with him playing in Saudi. And to be honest, frankly, I agree, because it's just not the same level anymore. And I've seen some snippets of him playing in the game. And if we sometimes complain that he could be a bit indecisive, well, it's maximized now by about 3 more times. And I think Verge as well. The only thing is, I don't think the Netherlands as a whole as a team is going to be getting much further than the quarterfinals. I would be baffled if they get to the semifinals. I'm not going to lie. For the rest, I think Kanate is going to be having a great tournament as well. Because it's France, and he seems to be actually, from it being normally Upamecano and being Saliba coming in, he's actually the only constant option right now in there. He's the only one who's constantly picked throughout the last couple of tournaments.
Yeah, and I think Holland, obviously we're getting a bit more of a Dutch connection over at Liverpool now. Someone for me is Cody Gakpo. In the last tournament, he was absolutely fantastic for Holland, and he was really playing into form. I think he's massively underrated at Liverpool. And I think most people, when they go through a little bit of a bad patch, he was made a bit of a scapegoat, but actually finished the season strong. And I'm expecting him to have a really good Euros, actually. I'm really hoping that he kicks on and does well. Patricio, same question for you then. Who are you expecting to shine for Liverpool / their country? Who do you think is going to come out of the Euros, as top dog?
Before the injury, I would have said I was excited to watch Szoboszlai. I think I've always been excited for when he came to Liverpool. Same with Gravenberch. I don't think he was. We definitely was underutilized at Bayern with the managers he had there. So I'm excited to see what Gravenberch can do. Obviously, Virgil, he's just always going to be in that squad. He's always going to be there. He's going to be one of the top players. So, and do you know what? Gakpo as well. I think Gakpo on that wing, we just see him flourish through. And it was from the last Euros that we watched that we actually picked Gakpo up from. After that, how amazing he played. So yeah, I think they're sort of the players that I would like to see do well, seeing as we are basically building a Dutch team now. Yeah, so I think those ones. Sadly, over in the Copa America, so I'm Mexican, and I just saw Uruguay absolutely demolish Mexico 4-0. Although they were Darwin tap-ins, they still played really well. So I'm hoping he's building his confidence back and can do well under Slot.
Yeah, I think Nunes and John's actually said it as well. Top goal scorer. That would be fantastic if he was. Imagine his confidence coming back with a new manager as well. So Jay actually put the question in here. Who for Liverpool has scored the most goals for England? I have seen someone, John has already put in the correct answer. I do believe it's Michael Owen. Whilst playing for Liverpool, scored 25 or 26. I think it was a quiz question that I actually had in the last European/international break as well. I believe it's Michael Owen. If it's not, please do let me know. And I'll happily admit that I was wrong. The Euros, the Copa America, it's all going well, hopefully for Liverpool. And, it's going to be one of those that is going to be really interesting for a lot of these players, because players do go away and they transform under different managers. I think you only have to look at Nunes under Bielsa. And, as Patricio said about Mexico and Uruguay, I think Nunes seems to be happier. I don't know why. At playing for Uruguay, he seems quite happy when he's on the international break. He obviously, the recent spout of deleting pictures, he kept his Uruguay ones. Okay, so he's still got those Uruguayan roots. So hopefully a lot of these players actually come back, not injured. Hopefully a lot of them come back and nice and refreshed. Willem and Patricia, I'm going to ask if you have any last thoughts as we wind down here. We are coming up to the hour mark. There are nearly 6,000 of you into our chat. So thank you so much for joining us on the Saturday night stream. Willem, any final questions, remarks, or statements that you want to make?
Wow, that's more putting me on the spot than any of the knowledge questions or more actually. Yeah, I don't know. I'm quite excited for next season, to be fair. I think once kind of the fire blew out with Klopp, it kind of really showed how sometimes we can have our dips with Klopp as well. And I think he was finished. You could already see it last season, like the season before last season when we were really bad. Like the man looked absolutely drained. So I'm actually just happy that he's now going to go and live life and just kind of be more relaxed than a normal human being. And I've watched Arne Slot quite a bit over the past years. I think he's going to be a really good manager. But like any new manager coming in, we need to be patient. And I think I've always said from the start, no matter who comes in, my expectation is just make top four and just make sure that we have either a good cup run or a really good run in Europe, and that's all the standards I'm going to set for a first season, because I don't think it's really fair to expect much more for someone who's coming in after Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I completely agree. I said I have a lot of friends, unfortunately, who are Manchester United fans, and they're saying the demise of Liverpool is now. And I said, you know what? Top four next season. That's what the aim is, because it's a transition season, and you have to give managers time. We saw the amazing work that Klopp did. It didn't happen straight away. He did have a very good cup run that obviously ended at Sevilla. But apart from that, you knew where we were going, and I was always confident in where we were going under Klopp, and I hope that Slot gives us that same confidence and keeps us in Europe, keeps us amongst the elite while he builds his own squad and transitions that over. Patricio, any last thoughts about the Euros, about the Copa America? You can bring in Mexico if you like. Any transfers, anything that you like? Any final thoughts before we love and leave everybody today?
Yeah, I just agree with you and Willem that I'm excited for the new Slot era. I'm excited to see what he brings. To be honest, I don't really know a lot about him. To begin with, when he was first announced, I was like, who's this guy? I was thinking we're on the long going to get Amorim, especially with all the rumours at the time. But looking more into videos into him, I'm actually quite excited seeing how he wants to work with Liverpool, because some of the other managers didn't seem like they wanted to. So yeah, I'm actually quite excited for it. And with Mexico, I'm a bit upset. I don't like. I know that last season Mexico got what cup they won at the time, but I think they didn't play Jimenez on the match that they lost 4-0. So as we were saying, I would have liked to see him play. But yeah, in terms of Euros, I think I want England to win. I don't know how far we'll go under Southgate, but I think he's got a lot of the best players in Europe. So yeah, we'll see how we do. Hope for the best.
Yeah, and like I say, I never really trust Gareth Southgate, if I'm honest, even as an England supporter, and I want them to do well. With the talent at Gareth's disposal, really, he should not be losing to Iceland and having only one shot on target in 90 minutes. But alas, let's go forwards and let's move on. Thank you all for joining us on the Saturday night stream. The next time you join us, obviously, we'll be getting closer and closer and the Euros kicking off. It's really exciting. I do love watching Liverpool players in the Euros. It adds something a little bit different. But thank you everyone for joining us. There's over 6,000 of you now. So if you haven't already, give the channel a like, a subscribe and a follow. But as for now and forever, up the Reds.